What's up, everybody? We're into the final stretch of Secret Invasion with Episode 5 premiering this week. Right off the bat, this will be my full spoiler review on Episode 5, so if you haven't seen the episode, go ahead and save this video somehow so you can come back once you have. With that out of the way, let's get into the breakdown. As I always do, we'll start off with the opening sequence, and this week it opens with Fury rushing President Ritson to the hospital and then posting up outside the doors to wait for Scrody in classic Nick Fury fashion. It cuts to GRAVIK returning to New SKRULLS after the attack on the president's motorcade. He wants to rally the troops, but also he knows he didn't win because he didn't start World War III. His right-hand man, whose name I still don't know for whatever reason, and I'm going to keep it that way, questions him because he keeps leaving Fury alive, and before you can even blink, he uses his group powers and shanks him, going full-on dictator. As the room clears, he makes a phone call to Scrody, who's on her way to the hospital, and he wants her to convince Ritson it was the Russians and the SKRULLS who attacked him to put pressure on Fury. When he walks into the hospital, though, Rhodey is met by a furious Nick Fury, but he was ready for that confrontation as he released the footage that GRAVIK is in Fury's body, shooting Maria Hill. Fury has no choice but to let him go as Rhodey taunts him, and the credits roll. I thought this was a solid opening sequence. It has a lot packed into it, but it flows really well. I'd even go as far to say it might be my favorite of the 5 opening sequences so far, but there's much more to the episode than just the first few minutes, so let's get into the rest of that. Let's start with GRAVIK and everything going on in New SKRULLS. So the big thing this week here is GRAVIK has become completely power hungry, even more so than he was before he was a Super Skrull. When they're in the mess, a group of Skrulls tries to jump GRAVIK, but as you'd expect, it doesn't go too well for them. This was a really cool sequence as GRAVIK shows his true skin and his furious rage taking on the traitors. He's really on the edge of this episode too, as he has his Super Skrull abilities, but not the ones he truly wanted. He's searching for a sample called the Harvest, which is from the Battle of Earth in Endgame, as Fury explains almost all the heroes present shed blood. After the fighting was done, he instructed a group of Skrulls, led by GRAVIK, to collect that DNA because he's Nicholas J. Fury, and that's definitely not a bad idea. And while GRAVIK has his powers, he's down the 2 scientists who made it happen because Sonya's on a bloody fucking rampage this episode as she takes out the Skrull making it and their lab and a Skrull within MI6. I love Sonya more and more each time she's on screen, and Olivia Colman has been truly wonderful, but also just disturbing at the same time. It's great. Anyway, losing them doesn't matter much to GRAVIK because he's threatening World War III at the cost of innocent Skrull lives unless Fury turns over the Harvest, setting up what I believe will be a thrilling finale that's hopefully a bit longer than these past 2 episodes. Now, before we talk about Fury, let's acknowledge the top 3 performances of the week. First off, finally making the list with more to do this week, Emilia Clarke. Khaleesi got a ton more screen time and some awesome scenes with Priscilla this week and did not waste that. She delivered not only an emotional performance during Talos' funeral, but flipped a switch and became a cold-blooded killer afterwards, while also being charming earlier in the episode with Fury. Then another partner of Fury's, Olivia Colman. She's scarcely popped up throughout the series, but also became a regular this episode because Sonya is one of Fury's last allies, and she also takes advantage of that, boasting what we saw glimpses of back in episode 2, and she's hilariously sinister, if that makes any sense, and Olivia Colman nails it. And finally, Samuel L. Jackson remains on the list as it just doesn't get much better than him. He's nailing all the old beats he brought to the character, especially with that tasteful Fury sarcasm this week, as it was on display multiple times and Jackson didn't miss a beat with it. So let's talk more about Fury. After the opening sequence, he goes to meet with Gaia in the building from the flashback where he asks the Skrulls for help in exchange for finding them a new home. As they part ways, Fury heads for Sonya and Gaia heads for Priscilla to bury her father. They give Talos a Skrull funeral and burn his body in a touching moment, and I guess I have to accept now that Talos is dead and Ben Mendelsohn's not coming back to the MCU. It's a sad day. After the funeral, we get a really cool sequence between the two as the executioners come for Priscilla, but she and Gaia are quick on their feet to defend themselves as they take out the whole team. I love this sequence and the way it was choreographed. I wanted this show to be Disney Plus's Winter Soldier, and it was exactly that thanks to scenes like this. They just had the same exact vibe. Jumping back to Nick Fury, he gets help from Mason, which you're probably thinking, am I supposed to remember him? Because I was too. But it clicked, and I realized he's from Black Widow, the guy who was supplying Natasha while she was on the run. So that's a pretty cool reference and kind of that classic MCU cameo. Once Fury arrives in Finland, he and Sonya head to one of his many graves to pick up the Harvest, which he's going to hand over to GRAVIK. But clearly, he has a plan, and it seems that plan is to fight. After he retrieves the Harvest, he goes and grabs some essentials: his trench coat, his eye patch, and his pistol as he calls somebody and says it's time, Let's finish this. I'm absolutely dying to know who he just called because I really want to get excited for the finale next week, but I don't want to get my expectations too high. For now, I'm just going to be excited the eye patch is back. And if I'm being totally honest, I didn't love the episode. I love moments like the final one here with Fury and Sonya being a badass with the Skrulls, and I do think the good outweighed the bad. But as always, I want to know what you thought about episode 5, so let me know down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, I'd appreciate it greatly if you subscribe to the channel, as it really helps me out and make sure you have a great day.